Programmatic is a tool for media owners to sell inventory in an automated fashion using software and a predefined set of rules, as opposed to a human touching every bit of scheduling in your network. This doesn't mean it's a one-time setup, but rather a foundation for you to build your programmatic business off of. This will end up saving you and your programmatic team a lot of time and effort down the road. One of the biggest benefits of programmatic is actually the amount of flexibility you have over your network and how it's seen and sold to the demand side. For example, you can adjust your rates based on market conditions in a matter of seconds, or increase the amount of programmatic availabilities if you're seeing some more demand coming in. All of these are changes that the buyers can see and adapt to instantaneously. Planning for and building an ad ops team should be one of the first things you think about. Just because programmatic is all automated doesn't mean that there's no human intervention required. Having a dedicated team to check in on delivery issues, inventory mismatches, creative approvals are all super important for your business to thrive in the programmatic world. When you're building out your programmatic team, there's a few things to consider. Think about the size and complexity of your network. If you're only managing 10 or so screens, maybe 1 or 2 employees would be fine to build out your team. But the larger, the more complex your network is, you might end up with a much bigger group. You also want to think about how much you're going to invest into programmatic sales. Having a few people or a sales team dedicated to maintaining relationships with DSPs and agencies and getting campaigns from them can drastically affect the amount of revenue you might see from programmatic channels. Absolutely not. Your team doesn't need to have any experience at all. Programmatic digital out-of-home is still at a very young age, and we're encouraging as many people as possible to come join in and learn about what we're doing. As long as your team has the time and the interest to learn, any SSP or any programmatic company will be happy to show you the ropes. Any SSP you choose needs to know about your inventory beforehand, so they can ingest it into our platform. This includes details like pricing or venue types where your screens are located, and then more technical details like device IDs, resolutions, dwell time, and also geo-coordinates. On a day-to-day basis, your team will need to manage your network so that your programmatic campaigns can actually run. For starters, you always want your inventory to be the most up-to-date and accurate as possible in your SSP. If it's not, then DSPs might be trying to bid on a screen that no longer exists, or on a landscape screen with a portrait creative, which just doesn't look good. You also want to make use of any reporting tools provided to you by the SSP, which will allow you to track your campaigns and your overall programmatic revenue. You can also tie these into your own reporting tools internally if you need as well. Another unique aspect of out-of-home is the idea of creative approvals. Your team will be responsible for checking all creatives that are submitted to you and manually approving the ones that you'd like to play on your network. This might seem tedious, but it's arguably the most important part of programmatic out-of-home, as it gives you full control over what plays on your network. Your team should also be working closely with your programmatic sales team. They'll let you know if there's an upcoming campaign that you might need to make changes for. Maybe there's a PMP deal coming up, which is a private marketplace deal, that has higher or lower rates than your regular rates. Or maybe you need to schedule some more programmatic slots for your inventory. Whatever the case, your team should be ready to make the changes needed. Start researching and talking to different SSPs if you haven't already. Every platform is a little bit different, so you should be weighing the pros and cons of each one before you make a decision. For example, does the SSP already have an integration built out with your ad server or your CMS? If not, what would it take to actually build out that integration? If you're using Broadsign Control already, we have a native integration built directly into Reach ready to use. Otherwise, you might have to build out an integration yourself in order for your screens to properly contact the SSP in real time. Another thing to consider when choosing an SSP is the level of transparency that they offer the DSPs. Some SSPs might package up your inventory in a less transparent way, whereas some SSPs will send every bit of information, giving full transparency to the DSPs so they can make educated decisions on when they want to participate in an auction. This video is just a brief overview of things you should be considering when looking into entering the programmatic space. At the end of the day, it'll all depend on your network, your business goals, and how you're looking at executing your programmatic strategy. That said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Broadsign. We're happy to help.